Fill her up.
You're listening to the Gas Digital Network.
With Robb Flynn.
What up? What up? What up? Podcast party people. How you doing? I'm gonna keep that music up. I'm gonna keep that music up. Feeling like loud music today. Keep that up before I turn it down. Start talking. I'm probably a little deaf too. I've been listening to music in my car. I got some new mixes for some new songs. Colin Richardson. And, yeah, they're slamming, but I crank them loud. I'm cranking them, listening to them. Now I want to hear everything loud. Everything's got to be loud, like this. Yes. Back like that. Because I'm fucking deaf now. I am going deaf. I'm going deaf. I had my hearing checked not that long ago, and I'm definitely losing some low-end frequencies, but a lot of like high mid-range frequencies. And that's pretty common, actually, for people who get old, like myself, who are old. But, part of it's the fact that I've played music now for 30-plus years straight, uninterrupted, by the way. I never went away. I never took a 10-year hiatus. I never took a 5-year hiatus. Non-stop. Non-stop, motherfucker. So many bands went. I remember all kinds of bands went on break and they came back. And maybe I should go on a hiatus. I probably should go on a hiatus at some point. Just take a break and be like, relax. It's kind of what's happening now in the pandemic. It's like a break. It's like a needed break. And I don't mind it. I got to say, there's many things that I enjoy about the pandemic. You know what I love? I love not having to go out to dinner with people. Sometimes like everybody wants to go out. I just had this happen. Like 3 people all wanted to go out to dinner. California's just starting to open up. They're like, let's all go out to dinner. Let's go out to dinner. Like 3. I'm like, look, no. Like we're just hanging back. Like, let's just chill here. I'm good with just chilling. I'm cool with just having dinner at my house. I don't miss going out to bars either. I got to say, my wife and I just kick it on my Friday and Saturday. We got our date night, kick it in the garage, drink, listen to music, listen to whatever music I want to listen to, not what someone else wants to play. And I don't miss it. Miss shows, but I don't miss all shows. There's a thing that kind of, when you're in a band, and you tour with a band, there's this kind of expectation that when you go through town that you're going to go support the band. And I don't mind it because a lot of times they're my friends and I'm happy to go out there and support my friends and see my friends. But other times it's just like, do I really want to go out and see this band? Yeah. But I generally do because it's the right thing to do. You go hang, go say what's up. Sometimes I just don't want to drink a lot. Here in San Francisco, like bands always show up fucking Sunday. Always want to be on a Sunday. Like any touring band shows up Sunday or Tuesday. I'm like, Tuesday? Sunday? The fuck wants to go see a show on a Sunday? Nobody. And of course, when you're on tour, I get it. We're on tour. I play on Sundays all the time. But I don't want to go see your band on Sunday. Why don't you play on a Friday or a Saturday? But nobody plays here on a Friday and Saturday unless you're from the Bay Area. That's the thing. If you're from outside of the Bay Area, you go to Los Angeles on the Friday and probably San Diego on the Saturday. And then you're like, I'll go up to the Bay Area. That's kind of the way it is. That's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. I did hear that. I did it right here. I read that Texas is opening up. I read that Texas, no masks, completely open for business. No, I guess concerts are all, not that anybody's going there on tour. Local bands, though, I think you can have shows now. So that's kind of cool. I don't know how long that's going to last. I don't think that's going to last for very long. Personally, I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. My guess is that it's not going to last very long, though. I already saw that the numbers are going back up. Everybody's got their first shot of their vaccination. They're like, I'm fucking going out. And I'm like, fucking fuck masks. All that shit's going back up. All the infections, all the deaths. Not in California. California's been crushing it, but outside of California, yeah, a lot of people going up. A lot more people dying again. But yeah, I just read that though. Yeah, Mississippi and Texas opening up for just everything, not just concerts, but everything. We'll see how long that lasts. Today's April 6th. We'll see. I'll check back in a month and see how we're doing on May 6th, and see if Texas is still wide open for business. Check this out. Me and my wife, we have relations, right? We'll have relations, and as you get a little bit older, if you're a woman, if you're an older guy, you might understand this. If you're an older woman listening to this, you might understand this. But as women get older, and you get kind of in the mood for sex, they're not as lubricated as they were when they were in their 20s and 30s. And so, for a long time now, the wife and I have used just a little dab of lube here and there. It's good. It's great. It works. But we used to use this shit called V-Magic. V-Magic. V for vagina. And it was good. I remember really liking it. And then we weren't able to find it for a super long time. And so we were using little KY lube, which is what I take on tour. That's what I jerk off with. I just, my day off, I set my shit up. I got my computer, fucking YouPorn. I go to town. And, it's very easy to carry. And I had some left over from the last tour. And so we've been using that. But she was out the other day and she found the V-Magic. Dude, then let me tell you, I would love it if V-Magic sponsored my podcast here. They're not sponsored, but this is just a plug. I'm just giving them a free plug because I just thought this shit, especially after using we use the KY, not the KY jelly. We use the KY liquid jelly or something like that. It's like a liquidy, That's good. It's good it works. No complaints on the KY. But this V-Magic shit, oh my God, dude. Men, you got to try this shit. You got to, even if you got a 20-year-old girlfriend who's, hot to trot and, wet as a river, you got to try this shit. It's good. It's really, really good, man. It's got this, it's thicker than the liquid. It's like this, creamy. I don't even know what the right word is. It's not creamy. It's not, it's see-through, but it's got this friction to it. It kind of has a little bit of a temperature to it too. Oh, we did it the other day. I was so goddamn excited when I saw her with that. I was just like, we need to use that shit right away. I gotta remember. I remember this being really good. We did it, and I was like, holy shit, fucking good stuff. Highly recommended. V-Magic. It is a partner's lubrication, but it's totally different than any of the shit that I've used. You got to try it. Check it out. I don't know if you can find it in Europe. A lot of people listen to this outside of the U.S., but here in the U.S., if you can find that shit, buy it. That's my recommendation. Definitely makes sex just a little bit better, man. It's good stuff. So highly recommend it. Check it out. V-Magic. Again, they're not sponsoring my podcast. I'm just giving them a plug because I want everybody to have good sex. Have good sex and be happy and, stop all the fighting in the world. Jesus fucking Christ. I What else? What else we got going on? I read that they discovered. I guess they know who Q is now. You know, the infamous Q that from the fucking idiot who's been spouting off all this dumb shit about Trump. You know, on all the message boards. I guess they just found out who he is. He just outed himself on a documentary, and apparently no one cares in that community. It's just like, of course they don't. Of course they don't. Yeah, nothing. Whatever skews with their reality, like they block it out. Block it out. I'm doing research, man. I'm reading shit on the internet. I'm doing research. No, that ain't research. That ain't research. Anyway, enough of that. Let's go back to V-Magic. One more time, plug for V-Magic. Get some pussy, men. Make your love life better. Pick that shit up. I pretty stoked on my guest today. Well, no, I don't want to talk about that just yet. I don't want to talk about. What do I want to talk about? Let me think here. Take a sip of water. Went and visited my mom. We went and visited my mom, me and Xander, my son Xander, he's 16, and Ginevra went and visited my mom the other day. My mom's been, I've talked about this a few times. My mom's in the hospital, or she was in the hospital for 2 months. She had a heart attack and a stroke and bleeding of the brain. And we had to move her to a 24-hour, like just maximum care. You know, the doctor's just like, look, this is just about making her comfortable. And so we got her in a really nice place. And went and visited her the other day. Visited her the other day. And, there's been a couple times when I've seen her look pretty rough throughout. You know, it's been a long, long haul. I don't know if you can I don't know if any of you guys got parents out there that are just been health issue after health issue and just falling apart for years. But that's kind of what's been happening with my mom. You know, she didn't take care of herself. She just refused to take care of herself. And, now it was the roughest I've seen her, for sure. I mean, like, just, it was pretty tough. Like, whoa. And, I've always heard that when things like this start happening, it goes pretty fast. And I don't know, maybe she'll come back. But it was pretty, I don't like eye-opening's not the word, but, just the reality of it is kicking in pretty heavy. But, in some ways, she's had such a hard time for such a long time that it just like, fuck. Like, it's pretty rough. I mean, she's basically bedridden. She can't move. She can't get out of bed. She can't walk. She can't, like all she can basically do is watch TV. And it's just got to be, no one can really understand her. Like, it's got to be frustrating, man. Like, I can tell you what, if I ever get to this stage, just fucking kill me. just fucking, I don't want to live. Like, all my life is just staring at a TV for 16 hours a day. Just put me out. That I do not want that at all. At all. No. That's not me. I'm an active motherfucker. I am constantly in motion. I got to stay in motion, And if there ever comes a time when that's not the case, just, I'll be happy to leave this mortal shell at that point. And speaking of that, I'm pretty stoked on my next guest, man. That was a weird transition, but, just wanted to talk about that. I've kind of given everybody updates over the last, 6 months or whatever. She had that, all this happened about 6 months ago. Haven't talked about her for a few days, or a few episodes. And, yeah, sometimes when you go through those things, you just kind of, they're in your head for a minute and they go out, and that's where I'm at. I'm cool with it. I'm comfortable with it. I'm okay with all of it, You just keep on working, keep on looking up, keep on doing your thing, keep on focusing, stay focused, man, stay positive, stay in a good headspace. It's hard through the pandemic, right? It's hard staying in a good headspace through the pandemic. Fuck. You can't do all the shit that you used to do. And, it's like you got to find new routines, right? You got to find new, rituals, things that you do. I started a new ritual, actually. My coach, my trainer, I got a trainer, and he's awesome, but he's been like, you need to up your workout. I was working out 3 times a week. He's like, you need to mix it up. If you want change, you got to change your whole fucking thing. So he's like, I want you to start coming in at 5:30 on Monday. I'm all 5:30? 5:30? That means I got to get up at 5. Like, are you crazy? He's like, you want some change? You want some change? Do it. I was like, oh, motherfucker. So I've decided it's like a 20-minute drive for me to my gym, which is just not anything I want to do. Like, he's just like, wake up, don't eat, no coffee, no nothing, drink some water, jump in the car, come and work out for an hour and a half. I'm like, I don't know about all that, bro. But I've determined 2 weeks in a row now, I've done that. I haven't gotten up and gone down to the gym, but I've gotten up and just no water, no food, no coffee, no anything, just sip of water, walk out. I live by some fire trails, so I go hit the fire trails pretty hard, like, hiking pretty hard. And then I come back and I work out. Like, I did a workout, no eating. And, dude, I did it yesterday, and yesterday was my leg day, lower body, and fucking crushed it. I was really surprised, man. Like, I was like, no food, like the weekend, like, party and drink with my wife. I'm always a little kind of like Monday. I'm like, ugh. And it was awesome. Like, it was awesome. Like, just getting up. I didn't get hungry at all. Like, I fucking worked out like a beast. I was so much stronger than I thought I'd be not having food in my stomach, which was pretty cool. So, I don't know. You guys do that? Do you guys do that? Does it work for you? It worked for me. I don't know. I'm only going to do it the one time a week. I'm like, this is all I'm committing to. The rest of the time, I'm coming in later, mid-morning or something. But I've been doing it. So I got up. Last week, I got up at 5:30, did it. This week, I just slept hard until 6:30. But I like literally woke up at 6:30, bam, climbed out of bed, brushed teeth, walked out the door, drank some water. So that's my new shit, man. That's my new routine. Mixing it up, adding in the Monday. I got Chase Mason, Gatecreeper, on the podcast today. How good is that name, right? Chase Mason. I got turned on to Gatecreeper by Jared, my bassist, Jared. He's a big fan, huge fan. Seen him a bunch of times. Loves them. He's like, check out this band. Fucking heavy. It is heavy. It's fucking heavy. Check this shit out. Play you some of their songs. This song's heavy. Off their debut album. It's called Craving Flesh. Fucking guitar tone. What the fuck? A lot of Entombed. Like the guitars are so good though. Everything's good. It sounds killer, but this song is another song off of that record. The record is called, I don't know, I'm going to fuck it up. Right here. Yeah. Fucking killer, right? So fucking good. Sonoran Deprivation. Sonoran? I don't know if I'm saying it right. This is off of the next record, Deserted. This song's called From the Ashes. groove, man. They got a new EP out called An Unexpected Reality. Opening track, Starved. A fucking guitar tone, savagery. They've got 7 songs that are 1 minute long, and then the last song is 11 minutes long on their new EP. How's that? Pretty cool, huh? This song, though. This is the last song on the album, on the new EP. It's really cool. Doom Central. It's called Emptiness by Gatecreeper off of An Unexpected Reality. I'm going to fast forward a little bit here. Super Doom. Cool shit, right? I dig it, man. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, everybody please welcome to the No Fucking Regrets podcast, lead singer of Gatecreeper, Mr. Chase Mason. Chase Mason.
How are you?
Good, man. How are
Pretty
you?
good.
Is that your real name? That's a fucking awesome name.
Thank you.
That's like band name extraordinaire right there.
Yeah, I've been told it is kind of like a comic book name or something like that, but I guess it works as a band name as well.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure, right? Chase Mason. That could totally be like in the Marvel world somewhere, right?
Exactly.
I gotta say, man, I see you wearing Entomb shirts a lot, and obviously I can tell that that's a pretty big influence on there. How were you surprised when you heard about LG and everything that went down just recently, a couple weeks ago?
I was surprised. I knew that there was he was having some health issues, and it's it's always a surprise when someone actually passes, but unfortunately, I never actually met him, which is sad. I have some friends that have toured with him and stuff, but I was never able to meet him. So it's definitely sad. But I guess since we weren't, we had never met, right. It's a lot different when it's someone you actually know and you've met, it's for me, it's just, right. I'm just a fan, so that's there's not a whole lot. There's a different grieving process, I guess,
For sure. I mean, for me, I took him out with us in '97 because I was a huge Entomb fan. I loved, Left Hand Path, loved Wolverine Blues. And so got to know him then, and super, I mean, just funny, fun guy to be around, just always, always drunk, but always he was like the most lovable drunk you'd ever be around, like he just like wanted to make everybody laugh and would do crazy shit.
In '96, you said it was '96 when you brought him out? '97. What era of Entomb is that? When they're the same difference era of?
It was like
cool.
Straight. Yeah.
I just revisited that one the other day.
It was cool. Yeah.
Like that song on their Damn Deal Done. That song's awesome.
Yeah, they were definitely getting into the death and roll thing.
Yeah.
Pretty good. And people, I liked it. I thought it was cool. I don't know if everybody at the time, I think when we look back on that now, it's like, oh, that was fucking cool, like what they were doing. But in that moment, a lot of the death metal people were kind of like,
yeah. I'm younger, so it's like all that stuff that I like from the late 80s, early 90s or whatever, it's like it's all revisionist history for me, just what I've heard from other people or the internet. So I unfortunately wasn't around at the time, where I was too young. So
yeah, for sure. It sounds like it had a pretty big influence on you guys.
Yeah, definitely. Entombed is a big one. Dismember, a lot of those Swedish death metal bands.
Yeah, I mean, that guitar tone is just, their records had the sick guitar tone. You guys have like a modernized version of that super fucking chainsaw guitar tone.
Yeah, it's that the Boss HM2 pedal that they all used, and it's definitely they kicked it off, them and Dismember and all those Swedish bands and the Sunlight Studios. But yeah, we use that sound, but it's like you said, it's mixed with like a more standard, like Marshall distortion or like a 5150 amp distortion, but with that like heavy metal pedal, the chainsaw tone like mixed in with it. So
tell me about this new are you guys calling it an EP? Is it an album?
I'd call it an EP. Yeah. Yeah.
Album, right? Yeah.
Well, I mean, it depends because if you're going off of total length, it's only, it's like under 20 minutes, but there's 8 songs. So it depends on if you're going off of length,
right?
They're like the number of songs. So
if you listen to like the Dirty Rotten LP by DRI, it was like 20 songs in 15 minutes.
Yeah. Like that. So it could be,
it was still an album.
Either, yeah, I just call it a record. I don't know.
Cool.
Yeah. Tell
me about that. You released it all kind of, you didn't make any announcements, no promo for it, just dropped it, which I think is very cool.
Yeah. So it basically came about, like I had an idea to do something like this, like the format of it with fast songs on one side and then one song that's really slow, and long. So the kind of difference, the contrast of the A side and the B side. So we had an idea to do it for a while, but we didn't actually have time to do it until, the pandemic hit and all the tours were canceled and everything was shut down. So we just kind of like went for it. And as far as releasing it as a surprise, like there's a couple different reasons why. One, because it was a little bit different for us. Like we didn't want to release one song and people be like, oh, Gatecreeper, they sound different now or whatever it is. And also, because 7 of the songs are like a minute long and then one of them is like 11, 12 minutes. So any one of those that we would release as like the single or whatever, it would have been weird. So we didn't want to do the rollout. And also because of everything going on in the world, like we're just overwhelmed with information and things being thrown at us. Like I didn't think it was a good time to do the kind of slow give out crumbs rollout, so it's just like, and it was fun to do a surprise, it was fun to kind of like stay quiet or go dark as a band for a little bit, not tell anybody what we were working on or anything like that, and not put any teasers out and just drop it. And it was cool. It worked out really well.
Did you guys time the live stream around that? Was that all at the same time?
Yeah.
Yes.
So we wanted to, we had it lined up where, for the record and then the Nuclear Blast announcement and then the live stream, we had it all planned out to kind of be spaced out a couple weeks in between, but to all play off of each other, I guess.
Yeah. Congrats on Nuclear Blast, man.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
We're label mates now.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Monty Connor, right?
Yeah.
He signed you?
He's a legend.
Yes. Have you met Monty? Yeah.
Awesome. I met him. I met him a couple times on tour in New York. Like, I think the first time was when we were on tour with Nails, because he had signed Nails to Nuclear Blast, and then when we were on tour with Paul Bear, we met them because he signed them to Nuclear Blast as well. And I think that he wasn't. I don't think he was sold at first. Like he was kind of like paying attention, like, oh, who's this band? But after a while, I think when we kept doing our own thing, he became interested. And then the last time that we played in New York, which was our last tour, we were able to do, I guess it was the fall of 2019. He came out to the show. It was at Brooklyn Bazaar, and it was cool. Actually, Fred, the drummer of Dismember, like one of my favorite bands, one of our big influences, he was the sound guy at the show.
Oh, shit.
And so there was a touring front of house on the tour, but that night I was like, you're doing sound for us. Right. Cause I've made friends with him over the years. Yeah. So I was like, you're doing sound for us. And that was the show that Monty came to. And it was like a very good experience to like make a good impression on somebody. And it was a sold out show. So after that, we kind of started the, conversations about signing with him. Yeah.
Right on, man. Yeah, Monty is he's responsible for my career. He signed me 1993, and he signed me 4 more times since then. So it's pretty cool to talk to somebody. Like when you have somebody who's the same A&R guy that represents you or finds your bands. Dude's such a wealth of death metal and metal knowledge.
I always ask him about stories, whether it's like about Obituary or talk about Deicide Records or whatever it is, and it's like it's cool to pick someone's brain like that has like not like I told you everything. I like a lot of the early death metal, like late 80s, early 90s, and like I said earlier, all this stuff is like secondhand information for me. But it's cool to talk to someone, whether it's I meet someone's from the people in those bands that I've met now, whether like Obituary, whatever it is, but talk to someone like Monty who was there for it and like facilitated a lot of these records that I really like. So it's cool.
Yeah. What do you remember? Any stories he told you in particular? He's probably got a million Glenn Benton stories.
I think as far as Deicide, the conversation that comes up a lot is about the record Once Upon the Cross, because I've always considered that like how to make death metal that's still brutal but like has a lot of hooks in it. It's like catchy. So he calls that one like the Bon Jovi of death metal, which is funny.
I don't know if I heard him say that, but the Bon Jovi. I think you're right though. Like those are like a lot of those early death metal records. They still had not to say that it got away from it, but like there's still a song. Yeah. There's still a chorus. There's still something that repeats. There's still a structure to it that comes back at the end. Even if it goes a million places in the middle.
Yeah,
and it's like somehow that got lost along the way or something.
Yeah, I think it maybe got a little bit about being who could be the most brutal or who could be the most extreme, and it got away from actually like writing hooks in it, because you could still like just because you want something to be memorable or catchy doesn't mean that it has to be like poppy. Right. But like death metal, like Cannibal Corpse has hooks all over the place. Obituary has hooks, so, or Sepultura or any of those bands. So that's the kind of stuff that I talk to Monty about a lot, because that's the stuff that I'm trying to do with my band. So he's like, oh yeah, they did. This is what we did with this. This is who we worked with. Like this was the kind of direction that we were going in. So we see eye to eye on that sort of stuff.
I was listening to I don't know if I'm saying it right, like Sonoran. What's the name?
Yeah,
Sonoran. Yes, Sonoran.
Yeah,
Depravity. The guy. So the guy who produced that is the same guy who produced your new one. Is that right?
Yeah. So if you're probably talking about Kurt Ballou, which he mixes it. So we have a friend that's in a studio here in Arizona, in Tucson, that we record with. So he does engineering, and I kind of work as the producer when we're tracking. Okay. And then we have Kurt Ballou. He's in Salem, Massachusetts. He mixes it, and that's like he's the guy. He's the man to go to for his, at least in modern metal, for the kind of stuff that we're doing. Like he understands the guitar tone, definitely. Like the drum tones that we want and everything like that. So
a shit ton of sub. It's awesome. Just
love. So that. That's Kurt. That's Kurt's working. So yeah, since that Sonoran Deprivation, that was our first full length, and that was the first time that we worked with him, and he's mixed everything that we've done ever since.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. How did the live stream go?
It was good.
Is it weird? Is it weird not having an audience to?
Yeah. Have you done a live stream?
I haven't done like a band performance live stream.
It was that was our first and only one. I definitely put it off for a while because I was like, that's going to be weird, or like that's not a worthy replacement for a live show, or just a lot of reasons. Like I didn't want to do it. I was kind of resistant, but as time went on, you know, it was like a year later, we're still not playing shows. I'm like, all right, let's do this. But it was cool. It was kind of weird not playing to people, but also I'm the type of person that when we're playing, I kind of black out anyway. And I don't even I like look at the back of the room instead of like looking at the crowd. You can definitely like get the energy from them, but I kind of black out anyway. So I know that some of the other people in my band thought it was weird not having a crowd there, but it was cool. I mean, we had our friend that's our sound guy there, and he's the one that mixed the audio and everything. So I think it turned out cool. It sounded good, and definitely. It did pretty well. Like there was a lot of because it wasn't a free one. It was like you bought the tickets, so we sold a good amount of tickets. We had a couple like shirt designs and stuff that we sold. So as a band, like it was a pretty successful thing that we did, which was cool.
You know what platform you were using to do it on?
Whatever Tim Bohr's company is.
Okay.
I think
that's who books you guys.
No, he doesn't. We have a different booking agent, but from what I understand, a lot of those talent agencies, like the booking agents, they've kind of pivoted to doing these having these live stream platforms.
Okay.
So that's the one that we used.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounded good. The guitar sounded raging.
Yeah.
It still had that chainsaw effect.
That's what I always say. Whether it's on record or live, I'm just like, turn the guitar. Like the guitars are louder than the vocals. You know, like I think that's a huge difference in live or on record. Like, just I want to hear the guitars like super loud. You know. Yeah. Why would you not want to? You know.
Right. You play guitar too, right?
So when we play live, I just sing, but I help write a lot of the guitar like riffs, and I've played guitar on the records.
Oh shit! Oh, yeah. Awesome! I didn't know that. So you play the actual guitars that are on the records also. Okay. Well, yeah, because I read that you had played on your early EPs and stuff like that. So
yeah, I mean it's been. I mean, we've done a lot of recording sessions now. So starting at the beginning, I played the guitar, and then for a little bit, I would play some of the guitar. Because the guitar player Eric in our band, me and him are the songwriters. So he's always played guitar on all the records, and then I will do some of it. I think on Deserted, I didn't play any guitar at all, but I wrote I wrote probably like half of it. And then it's always depends on like what the situation is in the studio, whether I'm going to play or not. But I've always been involved in the writing from the very beginning.
Right on. Like if there's time.
Yeah. Or sometimes it's like in the studio, since there's multiple songwriters, sometimes it's the studio. It's like, hey, I wrote this song. I'm just going to play all the guitars. Or it's like, if someone else is like, I'm going to play the guitar and the bass on it just because it's easier, you know?
Right. You're one of the few bands that I've read about and kind of followed that, you're not afraid to come out and say like, yeah, we want to reach a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we want to, it's very refreshing, especially like in the genre that you're in, because, it almost seems like in metal, like it's and to a large degree, I get it. Like it's a no-no that people don't say because it's like everybody wants their band to be theirs. They don't want it to get bigger so that everybody knows about it. They want it to be, I was the same way with many of the thrash bands that I first got into, and so I get it. But you guys have really like, you in particular have like made mention of it numerous times that like, yeah, we want to grow this, we want to expand, we want to reach as many people as possible, and it's fucking awesome to hear because it really does need to happen. It's so important for metal to exist and to grow, to have bands with that kind of attitude.
I appreciate that. I mean that's coming from a genuine place, and like a real place, whether it's like, I really love death metal, underground music, like extreme music. I love I love death metal bands that they only had one demo, like I love finding all that stuff. And that's cool. There's a lot of bands now that they want to be super cult underground bands, and that's cool, but that's just like not what I want to do. Like I want to be I've been able to do music now for a career, like this is what I do for a living, and I want to continue to do that, like, so yeah, I had to figure out like how we're going to be able to sustain that, and also continue to do just like what we want to do, musically or whatever it is, touring. And I had to let go of a lot of that, like, especially in death metal, which is a very extreme and like underground based thing, whether there's certain circles of bands or peers of mine or friends that it's like I had to let go of, what are these people going to think about what my band's doing?
Right.
Like, are they am I going to get the approval of this very cool circle of bands or whatever? But I had to kind of let go, like, I don't care. Like, I want to do this, and I want to do it in a way that I can make a living off of it. And also I don't want to be the like elitist gatekeeper sort of thing, where it's like only the cool people can listen to my band. Like I would rather be the band that and I think that we are for a lot of people, where we hear, I'm not a huge death metal fan, but I like Gatecreeper. Like if people are kind of on the fringes, and they're like, I know a handful of death metal bands. Like, I hope that we can be in that handful, or even bands like, like Machine Head's a good example, or Lamb of God, or, like modern bands that they're still like, they're still extreme. It's not necessarily bands that are played on the radio. I guess there are exceptions, like Slipknot I would say is probably like the most extreme band that has made it to like radio rock status, at least right. In modern times. So I think that's kind of like the modern benchmark, because they used to always talk about the next Metallica or something like that. I don't think that's really an achievable.
Everybody wanted to be
goal.
The next Metallica.
Yeah, I don't think that's an achievable goal. Like, I don't think that there's going to be another Metallica.
I don't even think Metallica can be the next Metallica.
So I guess it's just achievable goals, and just being like trying to reach as many people as possible, and not being afraid to grow as a band, like you said, like not being outspoken, but still being genuine. Just be like, yeah, we want people to listen to our band, whether you're like the cool death metal dude, super cult underground person, or if you're just someone that maybe heard our band on Sirius XM or something,
Right. Yeah, I think Sirius XM has probably got more a chance of breaking a band than, I don't know. Like, do you know anybody that listens to the radio?
I don't.
Right. I don't know anybody. I never listen to the radio. I don't know anybody who does listen to the radio.
I don't,
like construction.
Yeah. I guess people like the only time that I've ever like had not even just regular radio, but like Sirius XM radio is like when you're in like a rental car or something, and it pops up. But Sean the Butcher, one of the DJs on Liquid Metal, like he's been a big fan, and like boosted us up a lot of times on there. And even Jose, because he's from Arizona, he's kind of latched on because we're from Arizona, and you have that like camaraderie that way. But I personally don't know people, but I think that a lot of people still do. So
I got XM. I got Sirius XM in my car. I'll rock Howard, and then I'll go to Liquid Metal. So I kind of go back and forth between Howard and Liquid Metal. Every once in a while I go to Octane, but it's always like, just, I don't know what's going on Octane.
What is that? Is that just more kind of like the hard rock?
It's like the modern rock. Yeah, it's like the modern rock station or something. It's not like alternative. It's like it'll play like what's the chick, the blonde chick?
In This Moment.
What's her name? Okay. Yes. It'll play like In This Moment, or shit like that. So like it's still heavy, but it's and newer, but it's not like Disturbed or whatever, which they also
Okay,
play.
cool.
We'll still play new stuff.
Yeah,
Those three.
I've asked myself the question too, like who listens to the radio, or I guess when you see a new band, even maybe outside of metal, like say that there's a show here and it's some artist, maybe just like an indie act or like an alternative band or whatever you want to, whatever it is, and they're selling out kind of like big venues here because I've worked in that the live music world here in Phoenix for a promotion company or whatever, working at venues, and I just think like, how do people find out about this music? You know, like if it's not being played on the radio, because I know how I find about music because I'm like a nerd about it. I'm digging like finding new bands or finding the bands that I like, who they're influenced by, and you know, just always hungry for new music. But I don't think that everybody's like that. I would say that's in the general population, people are just kind of take what's given to them, you know? So I don't know how it's an interesting thing now, how people find me. I don't know if it's like Spotify playlists or people word of mouth.
Yeah, I think for sure word of mouth, but it's just like, I hear what you're saying. I mean, there's so many bands. I'm just like, who the like when Skillet, like suddenly Skillet came out of nowhere. I was like, who the fuck is Skillet? You know, like, who listens to Skillet?
Yeah.
You know, like, and, you know, not to say that they're a bad band or anything. I had never heard of them. And all of a sudden it was like, I couldn't fucking escape. Somebody was talking about Skillet and it's like I guess the Christian rock thing. So maybe there's a whole niche for that.
That's that. I guess that's the big question for us of how to reach new people, or, you know, to kind of dissect it of how are people finding new music and how can we like reach these people? Because I think that that's more as far as my goals or whatever for growing my band is like, you know, you hear the term like selling out or whatever, which I think is stupid. Like most bands that change their sound, and I'm sure that you've experienced it in your career, like if you're changing your sound, it's not because you're doing it because you're like, oh, this is more people are going to like it. You're doing it because that's what you want to do, you know?
Absolutely.
And I think that people equate it to like, oh, they're on a bigger label now or whatever it is. Like they're changing their sound to fit in. Like the label must have told them that they need to add singing to their songs or whatever it is. But I would say most of the time it's like, that's because of what the band wants to do. So I think that if you're trying to grow your band, especially now in like modern times, is like, how is it that we can reach new people with still staying what we're, you know, our art and our music is going to remain the same, or hopefully just get even better what we're doing. But the real challenge is like, how do we get in front of different people or new people or younger people or whatever, you know? Yeah. So
totally. I mean, I think too, like when you're an artist, and, you know, I think that you can get easily bored, you know, like you can put out a record and then like 2 or 3 years later, you're getting ready to do, you know, another record or your third. And it's just like your life has changed, you know, like so much of your life has changed. You know, like people, you know, constantly telling me, oh, they want me to write a record like Burn My Eyes. Burn My Eyes was 27 years ago. Like I was a drug dealing psychopath, like fucking maniac who like got in fights every weekend. And I'm like, I'm not that dude anymore. Like my life changed, you know, like, and I don't want to even be that dude anymore. Like I can't. And for me to like try and put myself back in that place, you know, there's something that's a little, you know, phony about it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's, you know, like I'm going to try and be like, this is what I would like, you know, that's always going to be a part of my life. And, you know, probably to some degree people and even maybe myself romanticize it, but I'm not that dude anymore. And so you just kind of write from where you are at whatever point you and the rest of your guys are at. I think
you're right. Like boredom, or feeling kind of stagnant or whatever is a very valid, because, you know, we've only been a band for 7 years, but even on that, the new record that we were just talking about, you know, we wrote and recorded our last full length, Deserted, in 2019. It came out in October of 2019, and we were able to do one tour on it. So when it became, everything got canceled, I told you, we're like, all right, let's do this EP. Part of the reason why it sounds the way that it does, a little bit different. Like, I wanted to do something way faster than we did and way slower than we usually do. It was because I was like, I'm not in the headspace. I don't want to write a new record already. I don't want to write the same record that we just wrote already, or
Right.
I don't want to write the standard, like what would be considered the next Gatecreeper full length, because I just finished that, and I don't know if you can relate. I'm sure that you can. That when you make a record and you're so overwhelmed with it and you're just like obsessed, and there's a burnout period afterwards where you're like, I don't even want to hear it. You're like, I don't even want to look at a guitar. Like
this record.
Yeah. So I was still in that period when it was time to do this like new record. So that was part of the reason why it sounds different, just because I wanted to do something different.
Right.
I wasn't ready to get back into like the standard Gatecreeper mode.
I love that you brought that up. You never hear people talk about that. Like, it's so fucking true. Like, when you're done with the record, like, and then you got to go promote it, and then you got to go tour it, and you're just like, fuck, man, I just like, you're kind of, it's like you're almost sick of it at that point.
By the time by the time it's out, it's old news to you, But
yeah. I love that you brought that up.
It's like it's a burnout thing, because I get very obsessed. Like, when we're in the studio, and I told you when we're tracking, like I work as kind of the producer, so I'm there from the start to finish. Like, when we're recording the drums and recording the bass, all the layers, and I'm like hyper focused on every little detail. And even the guy that we record with, Ryan Bram, the engineer, he'll always kind of make fun of me or like point out, because I can always hear the tiniest little things. I'm like, did you hear that? Did you hear? Is there something weird with that drum fill? And he'll like zoom in on Pro Tools to be like, oh yeah, there's like a weird. But he'll be like, how did you hear that? I don't know. But that's how focused I am about every single little part or every layer. So after, the 2 weeks that we've been tracking, my brain is just fried, and I need some decompression time or something for a while. But
you were able to do one tour after dropping Deserted. That's it. Huh? That sucks.
Yeah. I mean,
if it was in fall of 2019, though, this is way before any pandemic, anything hit.
There wasn't any really talk of it at all, but so we did one tour on like a fall tour. And then in 2020, we had it like fully stacked of tours to do. The first tour was in the middle of March, the Decibel tour with Mayhem. And it got canceled 2 days before it was supposed to start. And then, we were supposed to go to Europe for 2 months and do like a lot of the festivals and then some clubs in between. And to come back, do a US headline tour, and then go back to Europe and do like a headline club show, club tour. So it was the most in our career as a band. It was supposed to be the most toured year, like the most jam-packed tour year. And everybody in the band besides me, like, I've been doing this full time because up until last year, I was the manager for the band as well.
Oh, nice.
But everybody else in the band still has jobs, like full-time jobs. So at the beginning of last year, we were looking at it like a full calendar, and we were at the point where everybody was like, all right, we're going to quit our jobs. Like, now is the time.
Right.
And then everything went to shit.
So did everybody quit their jobs and lose their jobs, or were they?
I think that maybe one or two people did, but they were able to just like go back. But yeah, luckily, I mean, the good side of that is that once everything went down and we aren't able to tour or aren't really able to make money as a band, everybody just went back to work and was able to work all throughout the pandemic. So I guess that's the benefit of it, but it's kind of been a setback for our band in several ways, because we were like standing on the edge of the cliff of just like free falling, like, okay, we're doing this full time. This is our thing. And then we kind of got set back, but it's all the pandemic stuff and for the live music industry or for bands, like I never want to be someone that's like, oh, I got fucked over, you know, like poor me, because everybody's in the same boat. You're in the same boat. Like everybody that plays music, we all took a huge hit, you know? So
I'm a full-time podcaster now.
So there's no use of sitting around and feeling sorry for yourself or whatever. So that's why I made a new record, and that's, you know, you're doing something, and there's no poor me, because it's everybody, you know? So it's like,
that's awesome. It's a great attitude to have.
And hopefully it looks like things are going to be picking back up at some point at the end of this year. So it's got a whole.
Yeah, I just heard that Texas opened up. I just heard that Texas is allowing no mask, full capacity concerts. I just heard that. I don't know.
Arizona just lifted the mask thing last week.
Oh wow, crazy.
But I'm not sure.
But no on the concerts.
I think that maybe it might have. I heard something that with this whatever change that they made, the lift the mask mandate, there was some other stuff with it that I guess means that you could have shows or live, you know, live music. But I think the issue is that these venues who have been closed for the past year, they're like, oh, well, you know, they weren't just operating in a way that they could just open back up on the, you know, the drop of a hat. So they're like, hold on, like we needed some time to get our shit together before we start going, you know, opening with business back up.
I keep on reading. I live here in the Bay Area, and like, you know, it's obviously very dense population. You know, it's a lot of people, and so all these venues are like, we're going to open up, and we're going to have, you know, I keep on hearing theaters are going to open up, and I'm just like, and the Chase Center is going to open up, and I'm like, yeah, but you know, are you going to, like, I can understand a theater, like that's like people are seated, no one's moving around, like a Machine Head show or a Gatecreeper show, you know, like where it's fucking bodies and sweating and fucking piling on each other. Like, I don't see that happening for a minute. You know? Like maybe you can get a Celine Dion with an all-seated show or something.
Yeah. If they brought back shows and said that it had to be seated, or if it had to be like 30% capacity, I just wouldn't do it. I'd be like, I'll wait. You know, I'm good.
Yeah. That's great to hear. I feel the same way. You know, like I'm just a 30% show. That's like a lame show.
Yeah.
That's a shitty show.
I mean, I guess you could like, there's no way there's nothing that you could do that would make that cool. Like you could play in a much bigger venue than you would normally play, but then that would still be weird. You know, like if it's not packed and there's not people jumping all over each other, then kind of what's the point, you know?
I mean, especially with metal, maybe more than a lot of other genres, it really is like about that condensation of people just smashed together. And, you know, like it makes people, I think even when there's a ton of people, it makes people less, not intimidated. What's the word I'm looking for? Like less self-conscious, you know, like they're like, if the person next to him's going crazy, they're like, I'll go fucking crazy too. Yeah. You know, like it'll like, whereas if it's like half full and people are able to spread out and they're kind of like, well, I don't want to be the first person to go crazy. Like, it's like
a pack mentality, you know, it's like tribal, you know? It's weird to think about because for my own sanity, the whole live music portion of my life or my career or whatever, I've kind of just like blacked it out. It's like I just get really anxious or frustrated with thinking about it, like going back to touring, and now that things are starting to pick back up and we're starting to get like tour offers, it feels really weird, you know, like it feels like the last year has been a weird kind of dream or something, you know?
Right.
I think I met somebody from your band when we played in the Bay one time.
My bass player Jared. He loves you guys. He's a huge fan of you guys.
Yeah, he was really nice. He came up to me. I was at the merch table, and he came up and introduced himself. I think I've met him at a couple of our shows now, but I think the first time was we were playing at the New Parish.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah, he loves you guys.
It's cool.
Huge fan.
Is that how you found out about us?
I think so. Yeah, that's probably the first. I think the first person who played you guys for me. Like we were on tour and he was just like, oh, this fucking band, I love them.
That's cool.
So it was cool.
Do you have you had any good Arizona, Phoenix experiences over the years?
I have. Yeah, I like Arizona. I like Phoenix. Yeah. We've had some we tend to start all of our tours in Phoenix for some reason. I think it's the first closest place to us that isn't, like a bit like a LA, or like I don't want to start a tour in LA, like I want to. So I think we tend to open our tours there, and I got tons of them, like tons of great experiences from.
You friends
Phoenix.
with Max?
Yeah. I mean, we don't talk very often, but when we see each other, we're bros. I've known him for a long time, for sure. It's a cool. I went and saw Slayer in Phoenix.
Was it the last Slayer tour?
It was the Slayer. I don't think it was the final one. It was them, Behemoth, and who was on the bill? I can't remember now, but it was them and Behemoth, and it was I had just gone down there because my friend was going down there. I wanted to go to a place that wasn't like going to be like LA or the Bay Area where it's always crazy. I wanted to just see them where it'd be like chill, hang time.
Yeah,
and it was awesome and fucking. It was great. I mean, it was a wild show. It was the first time I'd ever gone and seen someone else's show in, Phoenix. So it was a good time. They had that new venue. I can't remember what the venue's called, but it was like a brand new venue, like really made for live sound. It was awesome.
Was it like outside? Like an amphitheater?
No, it was inside. It was inside.
Wonder where it was. I went to.
I can't remember. It was pretty kind of new though. It was like a new kind of fancy.
I went
place.
to the last Slayer tour here. The one that was like Cannibal, Lamb of God, Amon Amarth, and Slayer. That was cool. Right.
Yeah.
Well, it was like at an outside, like the Auction Pavilion. It was called. That was cool.
Cool. You is that kind of what you started out with, like your early metal? Like, take me back to young Chase, growing up, and I'd read some. So hold on, let me hit the pause button there. I had read that you kind of grew up in a like a Mormon, I guess maybe not Latter Day Saints type of family. So I imagine Slayer wasn't too prevalent in that family.
Yeah. So my journey into metal was kind of different, especially for people that are my age. My birthday was just the other day. I just turned 34. So I was born in 87, and my journey was really when I started getting into my own music, whether it was not just what was played on the radio. Like I grew up with like the 90s alternative radio, whatever it was. And then, and then in the late 90s is when I started, developing on my own. And I got into skateboarding, and then with that got into skate punk, like the Epitaph records, Fat Records, all that. Skate punk, which I guess looking back, it's pretty much like pop punk. It's not like crust punk or street punk. It's like No Effects or Pennywise or whatever it is.
Still killer shit.
Yeah. So that's what I was into. And in 99, 2000, I was in 7th grade, and that was the era of nu metal. And I didn't like nu metal and so at the time I didn't think that I liked metal because I liked punk. And, it was like, you kind of had to choose a side. It was like there was the kids at the school that liked metal, the kids at school that like punk. And I was like, I know that I like this punk stuff, but the metal that I see, that I'm exposed to, whether it's on the TV or the radio, is like nu metal, like Limp Bizkit or Korn or whatever. And I didn't like that. So I was like, I like punk. I don't like metal. And then it wasn't until I kind of took like a detour around nu metal. And I think that through skateboarding, I actually heard some, I think there was a video that had Slayer south of skate and getting that's how I got into like the heavier side of music, was through hardcore. And then eventually I realized that a lot of the hardcore that I liked was metalcore. It was like very metallic hardcore. So then I kind of dove into metal from there because I was like, oh, this is what I like. I like riffs,
Like, what are some of what are some of your favorite like bands as a kid though? Like grunge bands or like?
I mean, I was raised on like the Beatles. So when I was really young, like my family liked the Beatles. And then
Do you like
also,
the Beatles?
yeah, I like the Beatles.
Yeah.
But some of the bands, like when I was younger, that I named off, like No Effects and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Blink 182 was a big one for me.
Right on.
And that was Green Day, like Green Day Dookie was a big one.
Right,
when it came out.
I mean, that would have been fucking huge records
Yeah.
at the time. This is like selling 10 million copies, 8 million.
Yeah,
copies.
exactly. Like that's what I was saying with punk and with metal. When you're that young, it's kind of like that's what you take what you're given. You know, like that's the stuff that's on the radio, that's on TV. You know, that's it's kind of just placed in front of you on a silver platter. But then when I started getting into metal, there's like Slayer, and Pantera, and then a big one for me, at least is to where I'm at now, was when I was in high school, when I was probably like 15 or something. I was watching a lot of Headbangers Ball with the Josta era of Headbangers Ball, and there was a lot of those like metalcore band, along with whatever was like kind of just straight modern metal, but there was a lot of metalcore. And so that I was kind of getting interested in more just the straight metal side of things. But
the Shadows Falls, the Kill Switching, that would have been like that. Yeah, Lamb of God, that era.
Yeah, like the early 2000s, like 2002 or something. But the one that really kind of flipped the switch for me was the first Black Dahlia Murder record came out on Hollowed, and they were like, you know, they were lumped in with a lot of those like younger metalcore bands, but they were just pretty much like melodic death metal.
Yes,
you know. And so when I got into that, there's no like the big singing choruses, which is kind of popular in that time, but it was just basically just death metal, but catchy enough that I was able to latch onto it. You know, it was pretty, at least for that style of stuff, is pretty accessible for a young kid like me. And then I kind of took that as my jumping off point, and I just got into through reading interviews with Trevor or whatever, or seeing the shirts that they wear. You know, a very classic way to find out new bands, like look at the bands that you like, their t-shirts that they're wearing, you know. But that's how I got into At the Gates. Like so I heard Slaughter of the Soul, and I was like, oh, this a whole new world of like Swedish or just foreign death metal that I need to find out about. Or Morbid Angel, Dissection, like all of that kind of came for me through hearing Black Dahlia Murder, and I just dove down that path. And then I kind of found out what I liked as far as death metal. I liked a lot of the Swedish stuff, and then this, you know, the timeline of this is when the internet became more prevalent, where you could download music or stream music. I guess streaming wasn't a huge thing there, but it was definitely I was definitely downloading a lot of music. Pirating. Yeah. So, but I think that's a good tool. I think that's a good tool for at least underground music, because, you know, we're not listening to the radio. They're not playing that stuff on TV, you know, like it's not getting a lot of coverage outside of Terrorizer and Metal Maniacs or whatever. So
I mean, even a lot of the punk stuff you're listening to, like, you know, the radio's not playing No Effects.
So
a lot of those epitaph bands don't get any play.
Yeah. So I guess getting into underground music as a young kid, and this was also kind of the dawn of the household internet and everything. So I was a little internet kid, just like, you know, in chat rooms or whatever it was through the years, and finding new music until I kind of settled in on death metal and the stuff that I still like today, you know. What
do Mormon Latter-day Saint parents think when their 15-year-old starts listening to Black Dahlia?
They definitely did not like it.
No.
My dad in particular, he's not a musician, but he's always been really into music. Like he always, you know, like, I don't know if condoning might be the right word, but, you know, he definitely pushed me in the right direction of being a music fan. And then when I started finding my own stuff, and it was probably stuff that even the punk stuff is not really something that they're like super stoked about. but I think that they kind of let me do my own thing, which was cool. But there was definitely points where they're like, we don't like, this is something that I have to listen to in headphones. Like, I'm not listening to this out loud in my room, you know? And then eventually it became like, okay, I can't play anything that I'm listening to out loud because my parents are going to get mad. So I got to keep it in the headphones, you know?
Right. But they didn't stop you from listening to it.
That's cool. Yeah. No, I mean, I remember when I was younger, I remember getting in trouble for downloading that sort of stuff like onto the computer. Like my dad found it on the family computer and he was like, actually, I remember specifically I downloaded a bunch of stuff on Napster, like the Misfits, and my dad's like, what is angel fuck? He's like, what is this? Like, you cannot do this on our family computer. I was like, okay, sorry.
What is angel fuck? That's pretty classic.
Yeah.
You're like, that's a great song.
Yeah,
Dad.
just listen to it. And I think something like the Misfits too, where it's like, if you didn't know who the Misfits were and you just heard the music, like you'd be like, oh, this isn't super crazy. But then you'd see that song titles or like the imagery, and they're like, what is this? You know?
I mean, the Misfits is so almost 50s.
Yeah,
doo-wop.
yeah.
You know, if you listen to it now, you're like, holy shit, like.
Yeah, it's pretty inoffensive, but then, you know, the lyrics or song titles or whatever was
the lyrical content for sure,
yeah.
and the image. Absolutely.
But my parents have always been they've been cool about, they've been supportive in some degrees. There's always this little bit of separation of, you know, what their core beliefs are or their morals or whatever it is. There's a little bit of a conflict with what I do or just the life that I've lived. But they've been cool to and supportive over the years of where they can.
Do you begin drifting away from religion at this point?
Oh yeah, I mean, I drifted away way before that. Like I was probably 5 years old when I decided I wasn't really feeling that way of life. And then, you know, there's a whole lot of other stuff to my life story that I played into it, whether it was, you know, around the same time I was getting into punk and skateboarding and metal, I was also getting into drugs, you know.
Yep.
Which is something that I've had to deal with. But
yeah, no, I read quite a bit about that, you know, as a fellow heroin abuser. Like I kind of related to your journey. You know, I actually OD'd on heroin on the night that I signed to Roadrunner.
Really?
When I went out to party, like celebrate, we're all party, you know, went out, you know, to a show, got drunk, and then a buddy of mine was like, "Hey, let's do some heroin," and I was like, "It's 2 a.m." I'm like, "Yeah, let's do some." I'd been just kind of dabbling in it, like I had smoked it a bunch, I had shot it a couple times, I had snorted like China White, but I hadn't really I couldn't shoot myself up. Like I was always freaked out about doing that. Like I just didn't ever want to do that. And you know, so then I did that, and then I OD'd that night. Like I basically died and came to, you know, about 6 hours later. Felt like a fucking Mack truck ran over me. And then about a week later, my friend Jimmy Lappin died from the same batch of bad heroin.
Oh shit.
And I just remember being at his funeral, like, this should have been me. Like that could have been me. And like it was, you know, it was a huge like fucking life moment for me to like realize I almost just fucked off, you know, everything that I've been trying to do here for, you know, years. You know, so reading your story about how you were, you know, for some time kind of really, you know, I guess you were smoking it a lot. It seemed like you were smoking
eventually, that's how I started, but eventually I started using needles. Yeah. But so how long of like your career or whatever was there, you know, this era that you were just on heroin and then you got off of it, or like, could you, is there for me, albums where you're like, all right, I was really fucked up doing this album or whatever?
I can definitely pinpoint. I used to be in a thrash band called Violence. And so when I was in Violence, I was really into speed, you know, and so like I was a pretty introverted kid.
Mhm.
You know, like I didn't have like a lot of friends. I didn't have a lot of social skills. Super into music, and so getting in a band and like I'm get like I'm getting laid for the first time now because I'm playing like the fucking 4-H club.
Yeah.
Like they're like girls I couldn't get a fucking date to save my life, but like I'm playing at the fucking a kegger party, and now all of a sudden some girl wants to kiss me, and I'm like, this is awesome. And so I started doing drugs pretty early. I was 17 when I was doing speed quite a bit, and it just kind of brought me out of my shell. You know what I mean? Like it really brought me out of this, and that just kind of continued. So for pretty much the entire time I was on and off through violence, I was on a lot of speed, and then I quit speed and started dealing speed, and it was kind of like my way of I don't know if like, it sounds stupid to say, but like to prove that I had more control over speed than it had over me.
And when you're talking about speed, you're talking about crystal meth. Okay.
Yeah. And so, yeah, we called it crank back then, but they call it meth now.
Yeah.
And but like I was like, if I can sell this and make money off of it and then not do it, like to me that was like some ultimate form of domination over my addictions or my demons or whatever. And so I did, and I actually started, and I became some like rising star in like the meth, world, and it kind of freaked me out. Like I started getting people, all these bikers wanted to offer me like tens of thousands of dollars up front, to sell for them, and I was like, holy, like I just want to fucking play music, man. I don't. I'm just doing this to fucking get me from point A to point B. Like I'm not trying to go down this route. But around that time, I think I started dabbling with heroin, and it sounds weird to say, but everybody was doing it. Like this is kind of like the height of grunge, and like it's just very sexy and very everywhere. Like it was very easy to get, and I started doing it, and I wanted to do it. I don't know why. Like I was just very drawn to this drug. Like it was very glamorous to me, and in a completely unglamorous way, because here you are, like, you're shooting up in some fucking shitty room and fucking, there's nothing glamorous about it at all. But I don't know. Was that experience like that for you at all?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I mean, I got into it super young. Like I think I was 13 when I like smoked weed for the first, no, not, when I smoked weed for the first time, and I was 13 too for weed. I think what you were talking about, like you're just drawn to it. I was kind of like, I kind of had that mindset. I think from being raised a certain way and going against it, and then getting into skateboarding and getting into punk. It's all very like anti-authority, like all this stuff that I'm being told not to do. Like I want to do that. Like being in Dare, and they'd be like, drugs are bad. I'm like, oh, this sounds cool. Like if this cop is telling me not to do it, I want to do it because they just don't want me to have fun, Right. So as soon as I got on that track of substances, I was just like, any drug that I had heard about or whatever, I was like, I'm not scared, and I'm not only not scared, but I'm drawn to it, and I'm like actively want to do it. So I got into heroin. I did heroin for the first time when I was 16. And
that's pretty young.
Yeah. But, people ask me like, weren't you scared, or what was the reason? Like, I guess I mean, I don't have any sort of like trauma or anything. A lot of people are like, oh, I wanted to get high because I was escaping this reality, or,
right.
my terrible home life or whatever it was. But I didn't have that. Like I have nothing to blame it on. I just wanted to get high. I was bored. I was like a bored suburban kid, a little fearless suburban kid. And once I tapped into that, I just took it farther, and I did the same thing as you, like started dealing drugs, because that was just like how I made it work, not necessarily making money, but just getting high for free by
Oh,
selling it to
gotcha.
other
Like
people,
paying
you
for
know?
your habit.
Yeah.
Paying for your habit. Yeah.
Yeah.
You were getting high on your own
yeah,
supply.
yeah, absolutely. But also a little bit different than your story is that, like, I mean, I was been playing in bands since I was 12 or 13, you know, around the same time. And I never was able to do anything with it. You know, I played in bands and we were cool local bands, you know, we open, you know, when I was older, you know, like 18, 19, 20, like played in bands that we were a good support band, the local opener for cool bands that I liked, but never was able to go on tour or really play or really get even a minimal amount of success with it because I was on drugs, you know, like that was.
This is Gatecreeper?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Um,
You were in another band before Gatecreeper?
Yeah, I played in a bunch of different bands, and I got sober when I was 25, and I started Gatecreeper right after I got sober. So my only experience with the actual music industry or for touring or anything on the level of like what we're doing now, I've only done it sober. So like I never went on tour unless I was, you know, when I was still on drugs. So my experience with everything has only been as a sober person. I was never trying to juggle both of those things because when I talk to people that are doing that, which I'm sure you have experience with, or my friends now, that I have a few friends that I've met through music and they were on heroin or on drugs and now they've gotten sober, and talking to them about like being on tour and trying to like score in the new city every night or whatever. I'm like, that seems so, that gives me anxiety just thinking about it, you know, like that seems like such a pain in the ass, you know? But I've never experienced that, thankfully.
When you got sober, was there a you know, an OD or something, you know, some earth shattering event that makes you go, fuck dude, what the fuck are you doing?
I mean, I definitely OD'd a couple times, but that wasn't the thing that made me get sober. I think I was just burnt out, or I was kind of out of options. Like I was homeless, not sleeping in the park homeless, but more just like couch surfing until someone's like, all right, you got to leave, you know?
Right.
And I kind of played that out until the very end, where it's just like, nobody really wants me around. My parents don't want me around. So yeah, my family is like, hey, you got to leave. My friends are like, hey man, you need to like, you can't stay on my couch anymore. You know, like you need to, couldn't hold a job. Just couldn't do anything. So I kind of was forced by other circumstances into going to treatment for the first time. And I stuck it out and I left prematurely. It was a 6-month program. I left after 90 days, stayed sober for a little bit, I relapsed, and things got really bad really quickly. And I bounced in and out of a couple different, you know, I went to a couple different detoxes, shorter treatment centers, like sober living houses, and I kept getting kicked out because I kept getting high. And then eventually in 2012, I ended up back at the same treatment center that I started at, and I stayed for the whole 6 months, and I've been sober ever since. Yeah.
Wow. That's congratulations, man. That is awesome. That's an amazing story.
And playing music has been a good thing for me. Because like I said, I started Gatecreeper fresh out of rehab. I knew that I wanted to play in a band like this for a long time, but I had other things in the way, you know, like there was other shit holding me back. But as soon as I was out and I was sober, I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. And it gave me a reason to stay sober, is because like, I know that I haven't been able to do this before because I was on drugs, and I just, you know, I wasn't able to make it work. And also it just gave me something to do, you know, like, so I just kind of hit the ground running, and I just have never stopped of just like, this is my thing. This is what I put all my energy into. I talk a lot about like the junkie hustle, which, you know, like when you're a junkie, you wake up and that's the first thing you think about, you know, and that's every day. It's like it's the most insane full-time job you'll ever have. Like there's no days off, you know, like you're obsessed with it 24/7.
Right.
So I'm very familiar with that mindset. So I just applied it to music and to my own band, and like kind of put that junkie hustle and the scheming, whatever it is that you just, the personality or like kind of mental gymnastics that you have to do as a junkie, just applied those for good. And
you apply it to the music business,
yeah,
and it
exactly,
works amazingly well.
I mean, it's not that wrong. I always joke around that selling shirts on tour is like pretty much the same as selling drugs. You know,
Yeah.
it's the same business. It's the same business principles. You know, like you buy them from this much, and then you sell them for this much, and then you got to go get more when you sell out. You know,
and then dudes are coming up like, "Hey, man, give me $5 off your shirt," and you're like, "Bro,
I'm
no."
like, I know, I have experience with this. Like, I got this. So, yeah. All joking aside, like music and this band has like helped me just stay busy, you know. And now I'm far removed from it. You know, I'm coming up on 9 years, 9 years sober, and like it doesn't seem like that long, and it seems like I'm so far removed from it because I'm not obsessed with that anymore. I was obsessed for a long time, like with drugs and getting high or whatever, but now I have something else to be obsessed about, and it's completely replaced that like part of my, you know, addiction is something that I'll have to deal with for the rest of my life, just because it can lay dormant, but it's never going to go away, you know. But I have something.
Is it pretty easy to be on tour? Like, you know, because I would imagine the rest of your guys all party.
I mean, luckily everybody else on my band, they don't party that hard, so it's not. I'm very fortunate. Like, everybody's really professional, and like, there's no like liabilities in the band, you know, because I know if I was getting high and I was on tour, I would be a liability. I'd be the guy that they'd have to go find, you know. We're trying to leave the next morning, they'd have to find me somewhere, you know. We don't have any liabilities. Like, the guys in my band are all really good. If they do drink or smoke weed or whatever, it's like very casual, and it's not getting in the way of what we're there to do, which is play and get on to the next city.
That's cool, though. That's cool that you have, you know, a good support around you that's, you know, probably respectful of the fact that you're, you know, always going to be in recovery, and, you know. And
I think also because I talk.
It's probably more your fans that are like, dude, let's get
exactly. I was just going to say, I think I talk about it enough now, where if someone's a fan and they like read something in a magazine or whatever, they maybe know that I'm sober. So there's still the people that come up like, "Hey, let me buy you a beer," and I'm like, I don't drink, but that's cool. You can buy this guy a beer. But now people just, without even talking to me first, they'll be like, "Hey, here's a Red Bull that I got you from the bar." I'm like, "All right, cool. I love Red Bull," you know. And maybe because I have long hair, but everybody always just like, everyone just expects that I smoke weed. I guess I just look like I'm a guy who smokes weed. So people, I'm like, "Hey, let's smoke," or "Do you want to hit this?" I'm like, "No, I don't smoke weed anymore." It's never a battle. It's never like, "Why not? You know, why don't you want to drink?" I haven't had any arguments with anybody, and especially with people that we tour with, you know, because that kind of comes up. You know, like you're on tour with another band and they're like, "Hey, let's have a beer," or whatever it is. And there's always the first time that you have to be like, "I don't drink, I'm sober," and then that's it. They're like, "Oh, that's really cool." And then I think people assume that there's some sort of pressure, or there's it's hard in a way that it's like to not drink on tour. But everybody is like, you know, you'd have to be a real asshole to really like pressure someone who you know that is sober to drink with you.
I think some bands too, like we had a tendency to do this. We kind of you know, presented ourselves as a drinking band, as a partying band, and so like then like it's kind of expected. I remember talking to Municipal Waste about this, because they were just like, "Oh my god, I'm so sick of drinking," but like that's all their fans were like, "Let's go drink." You know?
No, because we did a tour with Iron Reagan, those guys, like other band, and they're actually the first ever kind of big package tour that we did was with them, and they were a good example of someone that was like, "Hey, let's have a drink," and I was like, "No, I'm sober," and they're like, "Oh, that's cool," and then that's it, you know. Like you don't miss out on any bro time. Like I can still hang out with everybody. Like I'm still hanging out with everyone without drinking. So, yeah, it's,
Yeah, if anything, you're probably hanging till the bitter end, and everybody's like
yeah,
saucy, and you're still
yeah,
good.
but that's, like I said, that's my only experiences on the sober side of it. So, hopefully it'll stay that way.
Have you followed any of this stuff that's going on with Nurgle
Nuh-uh.
in the press?
Nuh-uh. Is he like
Nurgle
being sued for like in blasphemy or something?
blasphemy? Yeah, I don't know if he's getting sued. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what exactly the wording is, but he has broken blasphemy laws in Poland, and so yeah, I was just wondering if you followed any of it or what your thoughts
Yeah,
are. Your dog
I've
back there.
seen I think I've seen maybe some headlines or something, but I didn't click on it.
Okay.
Yeah. Are you friends with Nurgle?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was on the podcast a little bit. He was talking a little bit about it, but it hadn't quite gotten to the. I think they're getting to the trial stage of it right now. So, I mean, it's just. I mean, he's basically like for being, for believing what he believes in with his religious beliefs. And I think he ripped up a Bible at one point on stage or something. It's like some pretty stupid shit, but he faces some pretty serious jail time because of these like crazy fucking old religious laws from hundreds of years ago. That
why now? It's crazy that stuff still exists. You think that as a society we're kind of past that sort of, even since the 80s, like the Reagan sort of censorship or whatever. I feel like as a whole we feel like, oh, we're kind of moved past and we're a little bit like more tolerant of other people's views or censorship, but then stuff like this comes back up. Like in Arizona right now, there's a new bill that's coming up that's like will completely make abortions illegal. Like I know that's something that is up and down as far as like politics, but I just forget that like, man, I guess we haven't progressed very far where now in 2021 they're trying to like outlaw abortion in Arizona. It's like, I thought we were kind of over that. I thought we agreed that that's fine.
I'm so glad that abortions were always legal in California.
But that's crazy. I watched that. I watched the thing with the As Palaces Burn, that like documentary, the thing with Randy and his thing in Europe of whatever.
Oh, right.
His trial and whatever his charges were. So maybe they'll make a documentary about the Nurgle thing.
Yeah, I watched that recently.
A couple years ago. It was on I watched it on Amazon Prime or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. It's good though.
Scary. It's scary. I guess it's scary. It's like, oh shit, that could happen to me.
Yeah, the whole thing that happened was so random, right? Like,
yeah.
What was it?
He fell off the stage, and he died, and he was like held responsible. Yeah. I don't know if he they said that he pushed him, or I don't know what it was, but he was held responsible for some reason.
Yeah.
Do you have any? Do you have any crazy legal battles that you've come into from doing music at all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had I was sued by my ex bass player the band was sued for $2 million, and I was sued for $1 million personally, me. And then we had a lawsuit. It wasn't anything like that, like with over a fan or anything though. It was we got in a lawsuit with another company called Machine Head that started almost in the same month as us, but I had done I trademarked the name and whatever, and then just it went through a big thing, and we were willing to just let coexist because we felt like they were kind of just like their own thing, and there wasn't going to be confusion with the fucking thrash metal band from Oakland. And but this guy just really got a fucking hard on, and he just basically tried to destroy us, and it was like, look, that's not going to happen. And so we fought him and we won. And so, yeah, but it was, it was years of bullshit.
And that was early on in the band? That was early on for the band?
That was around 2000. So it was about 7 years into our career.
Looking back on any of the Machine Head, I know that there's been like different eras of it. Are there any things that you've done over the career of your band where you're like, oh, maybe that wasn't their best move, or it's like something you look back on and you wish that you would have done differently?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's plenty of things that I go, yeah, that was dumb. What the fuck were you thinking? But like that's just, to me, I think it's the type of thing where, I started Machine Head in '91, so this October is going to be the 30-year basically anniversary of me starting this band, and have I done some things wrong? Sure. Have I done some things right? Yeah. More right than wrong. And that's part of the reason I'm still here. And like even the things that you do wrong, like they're wrong for someone, but they're not wrong for everyone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I got records that the fucking press absolutely savaged to death. I mean, and will die on their fucking mountain proclaiming that this was the worst, stupidest thing I ever did. But there's fucking, a couple 100,000 fans out there that fucking love that record and will come out and ask for those songs and go crazy when we play them. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like, you just got to follow your heart and you just got to do what you do and believe in what you believe and learn the lessons that you will along the way. I mean, I got 9 records out. I've taken some, big chances on a lot of them. Some of those chances paid off. Some of them didn't, but you just kind of got to keep on trying and, pushing and, people forget that like audiences get bored, man. Like when we're out of this pandemic, I can guarantee you what the record that I dropped then and whatever was popular then is going to be totally different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
things come in cycles.
The time. Yeah. And the time shape thing, like I'm a big hip hop fan. I still listen to lots of hip hop. This whole pandemic, I can't listen to fucking hip hop, man. Like I can't listen to dudes singing about diamonds and cars and clubs. And I'm like, motherfucker, we ain't going out to the club. Like, what the fuck? What are you talking about? Like, we're stuck here in our fucking houses, cooped up, losing our fucking minds. Like, sing about that. Like, but that's, I don't know.
No, I feel I go through different phases. Kind of like we were talking about earlier with making a record and you're like burnt out. Like if I'm on tour, I mean, I'm still always listening to music, especially like in the van, because we're still touring on the level we're all in a van. I have in my headphones so I can kind of zone everybody out. I'm constantly listening to music and at home, but I'm like, I don't want to listen to metal. Like I'm playing and I'm at a show every night. I'm hearing 3 or 4 or 5 metal bands a night. So I find myself, I'm like, get burnt out, at least my own personal listening. I'm like, I want to listen to anything but metal,
Yeah.
And then that goes through phases of what I want to listen to, or even times of the day. I'm like, when I wake up, I'm like, I want to listen to this kind of music, and then kind of fall into a routine. But another question I want to ask you is, you talked about earlier about bringing Entombed on tour. Like you were in the position with your band to bring out younger bands, or bands that you liked, which I think that's cool. But was there any tours where maybe early on for Machine Head or for your band where like a bigger band brought you on tour that was like a big break for you, or like that was the big?
For sure. Yeah, totally. We in the first tour that we did we felt like it was a pretty big break. We got to go. We opened for Napalm Death and Obituary.
Oh, that's sick.
And so that was it was like a fucking. They were co-headlining, so they were flip-flopping every night, which was cool to see. And then we shared a bus with Napalm wanted to share a bus, and we were like, we'll share a bus. That'd be great. And I had already done like all the van tours with Violence, so I was really ready to just not drive a van after a show.
Yeah.
At that point. And I was it's funny because I was about your age when I started Machine Head. I was 25. Okay. So, like I just left and I was like, I have to do this. Like this has to fucking work. And I felt like I was old. Like I felt like I was over the hill. Like I'm 25. Jesus Christ, I'm fucking done. And so I had this ambition or this drive or whatever to do it. And so that was a big break for us. That was a really great tour. Like some nights people hated our guts. There's Machine Head has a little bit of singing. Even back then we had some singing. So like that death metal grindcore crowd in '94 was not feeling that. But sometimes it went over. Like when we got to the East Coast where hardcore was more prevalent and that type of thing was a little more accepted, like people fucking loved it. So we really started taking off for us there, like on the hardcore scene and the coasts and shit.
I've noticed,
and then
I've noticed that for younger bands, for younger hardcore bands in particular, like Machine Head became like popped back up as being like an influence for a lot of bands. Did you see any of that? Like I people.
Oh yeah, that's.
I think that things come in cycles in all the different subgenres of like what in death metal, like what's the cool style, and with in hardcore, because Gatecreeper has our foot in a little bit of hardcore too, but there was a time where there was a lot of hardcore bands. It was cool. I guess we came at a right time where death metal was cool within hardcore, and then I saw a time where it was like a lot of bands were hardcore bands were influenced by like Sepultura, like Chaos AD, Machine Head, or even like Type O Negative or something, like more like 90s metal bands. And I saw a resurgence of that. I was wondering if you got any love from that, or if you were even aware of it,
I don't know if I'm aware of that. I haven't really heard any hardcore bands name checking us, but that's cool if they are. That's rad though.
Yeah. Did you ever like do a tour? Did you ever go out with Slayer or like Judas Priest? Or
we did Slayer, we did Pantera twice, we did Metallica, did Megadeth, so pretty much a lot of the heavy hitters. The Slayer thing was awesome. Like that was that and Metallica were probably like dream come true tours to me. You know what I mean? Like I grew up, one of the first thrash shows I ever saw was Metallica opening for Raven at a club here in Berkeley to about 200 people. So it was like, they've been such a huge part of my life from, the demos all the way through now. So that was like amazing. And they were fucking huge. Slayer, I got to say, like, I feel like playing for Slayer did more for us, like not to disrespect anybody or any, the Metallica thing was, like I said, a dream come true, but the audience, most of them didn't care. It was a weird thing. Like it was weird. Like they just didn't give a, I had never played to an audience who just didn't give a fuck who you were. Like dudes would just be looking at their watches and like rolling their eyes and like, oh my God, like, we're not that far removed from this band here. And Slayer, like they had granted Slayer was the fucking complete opposite. This is in the 90s. It's like we would walk out on stage. I remember walking out in Chicago, every single person in the front row flipping us off. Fuck you, Slayer. Like just fucking. All right, let's do this. Fuck, and like by song number 2, it was like you could kind of just see little pockets starting to turn, and then like you could take that intensity and that anger and like flip it around. And by the end of the show, we'd win them over. There wasn't that intensity with the Metallica thing where you could just flip that anger around and like turn it. It's like sometimes it was just like, all right, let's just wipe that one off from the memory banks.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I'm sure you see the same thing, right? Like sometimes you tour with a band and like the band, their audience is even if they're hostile towards you, you can take that hostility and kind of do something with it, right?
I mean, fortunately or unfortunately, I guess, depending on how you look at it, we haven't done those like the really challenging one where it's like a band that's super outside of our wheelhouse, but it's like, we get to go on tour with this band. We're going to try to win their fans over. Like probably the biggest one for us was we did a tour with Cannibal Corpse. They brought out both us and Power Trip on a tour,
right,
which is cool because I think Cannibal has been able to.
Oh, you know what? I think I saw you guys on that. You guys played Slams in San Francisco?
There was 2 shows that went to.
Yeah. Okay, I saw you guys. I didn't think I'd seen you guys, but I was at that show.
Yeah. So I think Cannibal has been able to maintain their status as like, in one of the original death metal bands, but also like remain relevant is because they still are paying attention to what's happening, like new bands, So at the time when they brought out us and Power Trip, it was like they were bringing out like the new bands they thought were cool. And for us, like this was on our first record, and we were just like, holy shit, we're going on tour with Cannibal Corpse. But it was more the Slayer thing, without even any of the animosity or anything. It was just like we're playing to Cannibal Corpse fans, and instantly they're just like, we love death metal, we love metal. Like there might have been a little bit of a like, we're just here to see Cannibal, like hurry up and play. But I think that we made a lot of new fans on that tour. And for us personally, we're like, we get to tour with Cannibal Corpse,
Yeah. Those guys are awesome. I love the Cannibal dudes.
Yeah.
George is fucking,
I hung out with him a lot. And I think Alex Webster, we had met him before on one of our tours because he was in Portland. And we had met him, and I remember trying to give him one of our CDs, and he was like, I already have it. And we were like, what? Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
And I think he was the one that actually like asked us to be on the tour. Like he's the one that put in the good word for us. So that was a very validating thing to hear that like someone, it wasn't just like at the suit level. It wasn't like at the label or management or even like booking agent level that they were like, oh, let's put these bands together. It was someone from Cannibal Corpse was like, we want to bring Gatecreeper on tour. Like when we heard that, we're like, that's awesome.
Does Gatecreeper draw a lot of girls? Do death metal bands draw girls these days?
Yeah, I guess we do.
Yeah.
I mean, not a huge percentage, but yeah, we draw some girls out.
Yeah. Are you guys all single? Or are you guys
I'm the only
married,
single one.
Okay. Oh, really?
I wasn't
sober guys.
Yeah, I wasn't for a long time. Like I had a girlfriend for many years at the beginning of the band. But I think everybody else has usually, maybe if they don't currently, but they've always been kind of like more domesticated, like at least have a steady girlfriend situation. So not only is everybody not partying super hard on tour, but it's not crazy with like girls and stuff. So
right,
we're pretty boring.
Are you bringing girls back? Are you bringing girls around?
I mean, ideally, but I don't know. Like, I guess we're as far as a band, like we are not what people would think is like the stereotypical like touring like metal band. It's not behind the music. It's not fucking Motley Crue. It's like it's pretty boring. Like we go, we play, we'll maybe go out and get some like shitty food after and then go back to the hotel or whatever, It's like
dudes on phones.
It's not glamorous, and it's not really that like there's not anything even fun happening besides playing. So
are you dating now? Like, is it hard to date in the pandemic?
Yeah, it kind of is. It's weird. I mean, I've done it a little bit. It's weird, especially because not drinking, that adds another thing onto it. And also my, pre-pandemic or whatever, my social life besides touring, just being at home, still consisted of just live music, like friends, bands coming through. I booked shows for bands here. I worked for a promotion company. So I'm probably going to like 3 or 4 shows a week, whatever. And that's what I do. Like, that's what I do for fun. That's my social life. I show up and my friends are there already. Like, I don't have to ask my friends what they're doing tonight because we're all just going to the show.
Right.
and then go to the show. And then maybe, even though I don't drink, we'll end up at the bar after the show. And that's like, but it's all started and it's all rooted in live music. So I had this realization that my entire social life is based on live music. After live music went away, I'm like, now what do I do? Like, I have no reason to leave my house, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, how do I, if you look at that for dating, it's like, how am I supposed to meet people? I guess the internet exists. You can meet people on internet or dating apps or whatever, but
Right.
it's just
Tinder.
Yeah. So it's been a weird time. And like I said before, of like, there's no poor me with the music stuff because everybody's in the same boat. But as far as the social, how everybody just having a weird time socially, it's like everybody is having that because we're all, you know, I guess things have opened up now in Arizona more than they are in other states, but I'm still kind of stay at home mode, you know?
Yeah, I'm with you on that, man. Like, I'm still at stay at home mode too. I'm just like, I'm just gonna chill for a little bit longer. I haven't even gotten vaccinated yet. Like,
Did you get COVID?
Yeah. I think I did. We were on tour, so we had tour dates in February that took us through New York City, which at the time was the fucking epicenter of it. And 4 days after that, every single person in the band and crew was fucking laid the fuck out. I mean, just the sickest I've been in a decade. Sickest my guitar player been in a decade, like just so, as crazy as it sounds, like it was 5 weeks before everything shut down, but like, most hospital facilities weren't set up to have like a COVID test.
Yeah.
At that point, so they said that they checked us, but I don't know. We both went to the hospital. We were in some fucking ghetto ass urgent care in fucking Detroit. We were in Detroit, Michigan, like fucking shot ass, urgent care. I was like, you ain't got a COVID test here.
I got it like 3 months ago.
Oh, wow.
I was
I hadn't heard of that.
Last year, everything shut down. I for the most part just stayed home, but I traveled a little bit. Like I went to New York a couple times during the pandemic.
During the pandemic?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Like you flew to New York?
I was seeing a girl that lived
Crazy.
there. And then I went to LA at least once. I went to like Nashville. I went to Mexico City. So I was traveling. I was still being pretty cautious.
Are you dating Are you going there to date girls?
Not all of them, sometimes.
Okay.
But I was just traveling because the
lengths we will go for pussy.
I was, I had a lot of free time. Usually I don't have a lot of time. So I'm like, I was traveling. Long story short, I never got COVID during all of that, all of last year, even though I was doing things that were maybe a little risky, traveling, which I didn't really feel like it was, because at least say like last summer flying to somewhere, there was like 7 people on the plane. Like it didn't feel
right.
I think we make it out to be this huge, like risky thing to travel, but at the time it wasn't, because it was like, I'm closer to other people by just going to the store,
Right.
But anyway, I all year I was getting tested all the time. It's pretty easy to get tested here in Arizona. Like you just drive up to a place and they do it in your car. So getting tested, I never got it. And then at the beginning of this year, I was getting ready for our record to come out, like planning the surprise release and all this. So for at least 2 months I was home. I was just talking on the phone, emailing all day, like barely saw anybody. And then a couple days after our record came out, actually I got it. And I don't know how, like I didn't see a lot of people. I was barely left my house. So I'm not sure.
Maybe like maybe because the record was, like you kind of get stressful before a record.
It could be.
Your immune system goes like kind of down,
Yeah. I mean, I had to have just got it from the store or something,
Yeah.
I think that I might have slacked a little bit on like washing my hands or sanitizing or whatever, because I was like, oh, I'm not going anywhere. But yeah, I got it. Luckily, I didn't have that bad of an experience. It was pretty mild, I think, compared to other people.
Do you have any lingering
No,
things?
I
No,
lost my sense of smell and taste. Like that's one of the telltale signs. But I only lost it for maybe a week at the most. I've heard people can lose it for months, but
yeah.
And that's the only way that I really knew that I had it, or the first sign that I had it was that I lost my smell and taste, and then I got tested and I tested positive. But as far as being sick, I wasn't. I was kind of sick. Yeah, I wasn't laid out. Some of it was mental. I think that once I knew that I tested positive for it, I was like, oh, like, do I feel sick? Do I feel these symptoms? But I never had like a cough. I don't know what it is, but I got it. And now I have that. I can say that I during the pandemic, I caught the virus, and I'm part of it.
Got COVID and I survived.
Yeah.
I was like, that was this lousy t-shirt.
But even though I had a mild experience, I'm still not going to be one of those people that's like, oh, it's not that bad, because I know people that have lost parents or loved ones to it. So it's still definitely a real thing, but I just consider myself lucky that it wasn't too bad for me. But
yeah, no, I've heard some people. I know I had Chuck Billy on the podcast from Testament, and he got it. He has some pretty long-term effects. Like he's got migraines all the time. This was a little bit ago, but he still hadn't gotten his taste back after months and months and months. So he was kind of tripping on that. He was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, it's scary. I'm definitely going to get vaccinated when I can. They opened it up in Arizona to be anyone who's 16 and over can get vaccinated. So that's cool. But I guess I haven't been I haven't been super motivated or been in a rush to do it, because I'm like, I already got it. So
right. You just had it. Yeah. You're probably pretty good for like 5 or 6 months at least.
But I want to do it just because I think that it's the smart thing to do, but also I don't want to be a hypocrite, because in order for us as musicians to be able to do what we want to do, I think it depends on everybody for the most part getting vaccinated. So it's like, if I definitely want to get back to playing shows at, like we said, full capacity. So if that means that everyone needs to get vaccinated for that to happen, like, all right, sign me up, give it to me.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, it's been great having you on here,
nice
man.
to talk to you.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for coming on No Fucking Regrets.
I'm going to take a picture of the screen real quick.
All right.
Ready? There we go.
Yeah.
So,
but
do you have how frequent is your podcast? Is it every week?
Every week. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I do them. I usually do them on Monday and then drop them on Friday. I'd like to get a few under my belt here. I feel like I'm just constantly under the gun with getting guests. I'm just such a fucking liar.
No, that's cool. Does it go up as video too, or is it just audio?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Videos. It seems like, I know a lot of people download it, but it seems like more, especially during the pandemic, more and more people have been tuning into the video aspect of it. And so, yeah, that's cool. This goes up. My two producers here, G and Irish, are gonna edit it together, and we'll do you have a
home studio there? Is that what I see?
This is my studio. This is my rehearsal studio. Yeah, I have a separate place from my house. Yeah, it's cool.
Have you been working on music during the last year? You got something new to come out?
Oh yeah, We've dropped 5 songs, like just singles, or like 2-song singles, or 1-song single, and then we're getting ready to drop some more songs that are coming out. We've been kind of just put it all up digitally right now, like not worrying about like what you guys did. We actually did the surprise thing on some songs last year. It's been cool, just trying to like stay productive. I do the podcast. I do a Friday happy hour show, so it's a live stream from this room, and we just got lights, and we play to some drum tracks, and me and my bass player just jam, and it's totally just off the top of our heads. Cool. Like we could play we could open with a Gatecreeper song next Friday if we wanted to. After LG died, we played like a tribute to Entombed. We did like 3 or 4 Entombed songs, and it's 2 hours. We just drink beer and play fucking songs, and it's not. We do it on the Facebook Live and the YouTube Live, and it's as corny as it sounds, man. Like it feels like you can see the comments going by, you can see the hearts going by, you can see, you know, I'm on Twitch, so you can see like I got a headbang emoji, so I can see shit like that going by, and it's like it feels like a show.
Yeah,
you know, people are there. That's the thing. Like I did a couple of the live streams with some other companies, and I couldn't. There was no like way to gauge it. I didn't even know if a single person was watching. You know what I mean? Like I didn't like not knowing. At least with this, like I can tell. You know, there's 1,000 people watching, and I'm like, fuck, cool. You know, like great.
Yeah.
You know?
Have all your live stream? Have you done any of the paid ones, or are they all just like?
Yeah, well, they can leave tips. We've got like a PayPal me set up, and people leave tips, and then we can do like on Twitch they can do bits, which is also money, and then you know they can donate. Up until recently they could donate stars on Facebook, and so you know they make a little bit of money. You know, like I tell you know I joke around with people like, hey, you know, Jared and I got fancy taste in beer here, so like fucking money.
That's cool.
But they make decent money, you know, like they make, you know, they're keeping the lights on here. They're paying for the studio. So it's like, you know, I have then taken it and just reinvested it into the band and reinvested it into the show. So now we've got better cameras. Now I've got a better sound rig going. Like we've got like a little light rig going. So, you know, I'm trying, I don't know where it's going to go, but like, I really enjoy it just because of the fact that like, if I couldn't sing and play fucking music, like I'd be losing my fucking mind, you know, like it gives me a purpose to come down here. We try and learn 3 new songs every week, you know, and then we make no set list. So we just call it out like off the top of our heads. And so there's this kind of, you know, sometimes that's great because people are like, oh my God, they're playing this song. And then other times it's a complete train wreck because we can't remember how to play the song, but it's fun.
Yeah.
So
does everybody in your band, do you live like, do they all live in the Bay? Or are they spread apart?
No, it's just Jared and I. Yeah, just
that's the guy that I met.
So we're all kind of
okay, cool.
Yeah. So we're all kind of scattered right now, which makes it a little harder to do like a band.
Yeah, that's how we are. Like, 2 of the guys live in Tucson, which is like an hour and a half south, and then our newer guitar player lives in Texas. So it's like, it's not a similar situation where we can't just get. It's not easy to just be like, hey, Friday, come over and we're gonna jam. Like it's a lot more logistics in getting everybody together. But I want to do another live stream that I was thinking about doing like a free one where we do there's the long song Emptiness on our new EP that when we put it out,
killer, dude. That's a really good song, man. Really cool.
I was like, we're never gonna play this live like this because we have other songs. Like on the last song on Deserted is a long kind of like doomy doom death song, and I've kind of like made that a tradition that the last song on our albums is like a long kind of more epic song, but we've experimented with playing some of those songs live, but it just didn't fit. Like you could tell the dip in like the energy. So I've been planning on doing a live stream where we just play those songs, like these long, like slower songs that we don't usually play live, or we haven't planned on playing live, and just do like a doom set kind of Gatecreeper live stream.
That'd be cool.
I've been planning on doing something like that. Yeah.
You know, too, what I find, and you know, you could do one big live stream, or you could do many little live streams, you know, in the end, at least for us, like, you know, I started doing these live streams literally the second week of the pandemic because I was like, I'm going to fucking lose my mind if I can't just scream my head out here. And, you know, like I always say that they're free, you know, these are always free, but you know, if you can chip in, you know, if you can go to our merch store and buy some merch, if you can leave a tip, if you can, you know, give some Facebook stars or some Twitch bits or whatever it is, you know, it goes a long way. You know, this is all out of work. We're all, you know, this is how we make a living. And so, look, if you're one of the people that lost your job, you know, there's 36 million people unemployed at one point, you know, like, don't worry about it. Just, you know, all we're doing this for is to make your Friday a little bit better, give you some music, you know, maybe put a smile on your face and, you know, whatever. And help you vent your fucking anger at everything. But if you can chip in, please do. And more often than not, man, people do.
Do you have like
They'll
merch?
chip in.
Do you have merch and stuff that people could buy while you're doing it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we put those links up in the comment section, so we'll be like, hey, you enjoying the stream, support the band and blah, blah, blah. And then we'll put the PayPal link, that have the moderators do that or whatever. So it's cool. Like it works, like especially if you make them regular, like, it gives people something to tune into, gives you guys like something to look forward to.
Gave us an excuse to all get together,
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, for ours, the merch, like, we the tickets were paid, but like the amount of merch that we sold, we made more from selling merch than the tickets, because people were just, I think that because you could also just buy the merch without paying for a ticket for the live stream. So I think people just want to support you in like any way that they can,
Yeah. You guys do your own merch?
Well, we have some
awesome.
merch stores, but we use like
cool,
kind of like a third party one that we don't usually have a store with. So it looked like we were doing our own, but it was like through a third party fulfillment company.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Hold on to that shit.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I asked you about one of the, things that you would have done differently. I remember one, the band Job for a Cowboy. They're from Arizona, and they're one of those bands that they got signed really young, and they did like a 360 deal, and like they kind of got. But the big thing for them that kind of fucked them over for their career is that they signed one of those merch licensing deals like really young. And they were either given. And this we're off the record right now, right? Is this on the podcast?
we're all on the record. It's okay. I talk about this shit all the time, so it's.
But I guess
I'll tell you my story.
So
after
it
too.
looks like they, from what I understand, they were given like an offer that was, you can have 1% for the rest of time, or we can give you like $100,000 right now. It's like 1% versus a sum. And when you're like 18 or 19, you're like, yeah, I want this big, $100,000. And then a year later, all that money's gone. And especially after you split it up 5 ways, and then this company can sell your merch with, or use your logo or whatever till the end of time, and you don't get paid for it.
Yeah. Wow. That's, it's crazy because I hadn't heard, I've heard many similar stories, and have my own similar story. But so they owned it. They owned it forever.
I'm not sure.
The merch rights.
I would be surprised if it was forever. Yeah, but
really
like a record. How much is it for a record label? Like 15 years or however long.
Yeah. So when we got signed to Roadrunner, that was as Case Wessels, the former owner of Roadrunner Records, used to say, I invented the 360 deal. It's like, thanks, I think. And but yeah, we had to sign over our publishing, we had to sign over merch rights, and then they
get a chunk of your touring too, right?
They didn't get it. That was before touring was a part of it. So, but back then this was this original version of the deal was that, which was a lot. It wasn't all of it. You did get your rights back eventually, and it was only a percentage, but it was a big percentage. So yeah, and then we did that again. The thing is like you kind of get like, it's like a routine. Like, oh, well, you sign with the merch company and then they give you money and then that's it. And then, like we kind of just fell into this routine. Like, oh, I guess that's the way it's done. Because when we started out, it was very DIY. Like I had a bunch of my punk rock friends printing our shirts. I had some other punk rock friends printing our stickers. We were friends with the Rancid guys. So the Rancid would like hook us up with all their like punk rock printing press people. So like it helped us a lot, and we would make that money, but then we got into this mindset where like, oh shit, we're just gonna like give this away, I guess. And I remember the last one we did, it was a big chunk of money that we got, but the money was spent, between what we owed to the lawyers and what we owed to managers and accountants, and then split up 4 ways between the band guys, and then you got to set aside 35% of that for taxes. Like it was not at all anything to write home about, and it took us 5 years to pay that loan back.
Damn.
5 fucking years is a long time to not be making any money off of merchandise, only paying this loan back that you got. And, you start looking at the rates. It's like, oh, well, if you got a front on a t-shirt, it's this rate. But then if you've got an arm print, then it's a lot lower of a rate. And like all this bullshit that like, you don't even think about, right? Like you never even, consider. And I was like, you know what? I started a streetwear company about 6 years ago. And I was like, I'm going to learn this game. Like, I want to learn this game. I want to learn everything about it. Like, I should be making way more money off of merch, and we're not. And, and if I fail with, it's called Killers and Kings. I was like, if I fail with Killers and Kings, who fucking cares? No loss. But, all the mistakes that I make along the way, or all the things that I do right along the way, I'm going to apply. Because our as soon as we were paying that loan back, I was like, we're taking our merch rights back, and we're going to just keep them. Yeah. And that's exactly what we did. We did that, learned a shit ton during Killers and Kings, like lost a bunch of money, fucking invested a bunch of money and made some money. But then when Machine Head came, I was just like, we're going to do it. It's 100% owned by us. The store is owned by us. It's a staff of people that we've hired that fulfill everything. And, like when you support this, our store is called 10 Ton Trading Company. When you support that store, it's going directly to us. It's going directly to the band. There's no middleman. There's no merchandise company that gave us a band. This is us making shit that we think looks cool and the quality can be better. And, little things like that. That was a lesson that took 20 years for me to make. 20 years of being in this fucking routine with the merch companies, and then finally getting out of it and going, holy fuck, like should have did this so much longer ago.
Merch is important, like especially for a band like Gatecreeper, like on our level, say that we're on that tour that I talked about with Cannibal Corpse. We're not making that much to open that tour, so we're making most of our money from selling t-shirts, on tour. And then having an online store, it has been really helpful, especially over the past year, because it's one thing when you're on tour and you're a traveling t-shirt store, but if you're not touring, you got to sell them online. So we have our own store that I would run, but it would basically just be stuff that's left over from tour or whatever. But we have a merch store through Holy Mountain Printing, which is someone that we've worked with since the very beginning, and they became a good friend of ours. And they give us a really good rate, like we still handle all the creative, like we get all the merch designs that we would sell on tour, or after we have the merch designs on tour. After the tour, we give the merch designs to this company so they can keep them in print and have them on the store. So I've tried to be very smart about it, and hearing stories from friends or whatever it is, and picking people's brains like, hey, what should I not do? Like merch always comes into it, because there's a lot of, in trying to continue what we're doing and making money, there's not we don't make a whole lot of money from streaming, we don't even from selling records. That's not, enough to put food on the table, so merch is like, a big piece of the pie. So you gotta protect it,
Do you guys sell your merch for, like, what's your average shirt price? Yeah. That's
and
cool.
And it's usually kind of just like a, black with white print, like I put a lot of thought and a lot of time into the merch designs, because that's something that I like. And I think, and it's important, so.
Totally.
And it's fun, because I do graphic design a little bit, and I'm interested in that. And it's fun to find new designers to work with, new illustrators to work with, whether it's for album covers or for shirt designs. Like, it's fun to collaborate with someone to make something new. And the fact that that's a good way for us to get some sort of revenue, it sweetens it a little bit. But I legitimately enjoy making new stuff or finding people to commission for shirt designs. So
totally, it's not art, like you're not drawing it, but it's still art. Like you're taking an idea in here and manifesting it.
It's fun. It's all part of the band experience, you know.
Yeah, you guys got some cool merch. You got some cool, crazy splatter.
Yeah, well, that's important. You know, like I'm a collector of band shirts. You know, whether new or old or bootleg or legitimate shirts. You know, like I have hundreds of black band T-shirts, and I think that there's a specific look for, you know, it's always, you know, we're paying to homage to a lot of bands in our music, but also in the way that things look, you know?
Yeah.
So
no, for sure. No, you guys have been really clever about that. You know, like you even had the one cover that was looking like a demo that made to look like a cassette or whatever. I thought that was rad.
It's all just, it's all just like taking the shit that we like and, you know, making it our own a little bit, but still having a nod to the original stuff, you know?
I think I could be mistaken. I was looking at your Spotify discography today, and I feel like did you work with Ed Repka for like one thing, like a single or something?
No,
it wasn't. Okay.
But there's probably something that kind of looks like that. You know?
There's one. Yeah, there's the one rando like single. I think it might have been a single that was like blue with the skull or something.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it was like a split of some sort. But yeah, it's definitely Ed Repka-ish. And there's definitely like I really like all the Dan Seagrave album covers. You know, he did Into Left Hand Path. He did Dismember once. He did Suffocation, the first couple of Suffocation records. So that style of like painting, like a full color painting for a death metal record, like that's what I think that the cover of a death metal record should look like. You know. Yeah. So very cool. And it's trying to.
It's important that stuff.
It is.
Like having an aesthetic is important.
I think,
you know, like kind of it gives people this is what I'm grabbing onto.
I think that it's important, and I think that people either don't consider or don't want to talk about it because it maybe can seem a little contrived. Like you're trying too hard to look a certain way, and it's like, oh, it's just about the music. It is about the music. It's about the riffs. It's about that. But like the way that you present it with the art or whatever it is just as important, you know?
I mean, to me, it's like you're like, I always, and that, you know, this is maybe my inflated sense of what I do. But, you know, to me, I always look at like in my mind, it's like a little movie. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like it's music, and then you're giving them this package, and they're going to, you know, I'm imagining somebody opening it up, reading the CD, and you're taking them into a world, whatever world that is. You know, you're taking the listener into this world, you know, and that's, you know, why that art stuff is so important, or why the T-shirts, or why the imagery, or whatever it is, you know.
Yeah, I consider that too. Like that's for the people that you've already got them. You've already grabbed them, and now you're putting them into this experience. But the thing that I consider also is like, how do we like have an album cover where someone, it stops someone and it catches them, like, oh, what's that? I need to listen to that, you know? It used to be back in the day, you're shuffling at the store through the CDs or through the records, and you're like, oh, what's this? And now it's like you're scrolling through Instagram and you're like just flicking your finger, and you need someone to stop for like 1 second to be like, oh, what is this? And click on a link, but it's all just like very visual. You're trying to keep people's attention or grab people's attention, or like draw them in, like you said, draw them into your own little world, or to like the mindset of this specific project. So I'm a very visual person. I think we're a visual society, especially now with social media. So the visual aspect of album covers, merch designs, we haven't gone into the full like live show production stuff yet, but that's probably the next thing that we're gonna dive into, whether it's even if it's just cool lights. I mean, I guess we always have like a fog machine, which is cool, but you know, even having a cool light show, or you know, whatever it is, like a simple light, a simple stage setup of some sort, it does make a difference, you know, like
absolutely.
Again, bringing people into this, you know, into this experience, you know.
I mean, to me, that's another aspect of the show that I geek out on, like the light show. Like I'll sit down with my light guy for days on end on tour, and even before the tour, like creating moods for the songs. And this song is this color, and you know, this is that, you know, like I enjoy the fuck out of it. You know, like it really like, to me, it's just another part of the presentation. And, you know, like, do you ever imagine like a time when Gatecreeper like comes out and you've got like a monolithic background and fucking pyro goes off and, you know, like,
I mean,
would you be
yeah,
down with that?
probably. I mean, I don't want some like Spinal Tap situation, you know, but
You don't want to come out of eggs.
I think a tastefully like cool setup would be awesome. And I know that we always, like when we're writing new music and even for stuff that we've already recorded or stuff that we're working on now, we Eric, the guitar player that I write with, he's a very visual person, and he'll even put on, like when he's writing, he'll put on some YouTube video of like a World War II like dogfight, like airplanes shooting at each other, or just something gnarly. And lately we've been talking about like we've been using the scene or like the visual of us playing at like a big Euro metal fest, you know, like a big outdoor like Bakken. We're like, all right, you know, we're writing a song. We're like, all right, here's the Euro metal part, you know, like that's
right.
If you know, you know, it's like Amon Amarth or something like that, where you can just like imagine a whole thousands of Euros being like, hey, like that's the kind of shit that we think about sometimes, where it's kind of funny to us, but it's also like, it motivates us to be like, all right, we're going to write a song for these people that we want to play to, you know?
Yeah. I mean, in some ways, I think that like, I think too, like when you're starting out as a band and you're playing live shows and you're learning your craft and you're writing your first albums, you know, you're able to play a song and get this instant reaction, whether it's good or not, whether the parts work or not, you know, whether the fucking, you know, the breakdown riff is heavy or the fast parts working or whatever. And then you get signed and then you can't release any new songs. You know, you can't play those songs for a live crowd anymore, you know, and you can't get that instant feedback anymore. And in some ways I always felt like our early records, you know, especially our first album where we had, you know, 2 years to fine tune all the songs on there and make them just crush live, because you'd get that fucking feedback, you know, and that like, you got like, in some ways what you're talking about, you got to imagine that. You got to imagine that you're playing for Europe because you can't get this feedback. So you got, okay, well, what's going to make the fucking crowd, you know, sing the guitar line or fucking belt out whatever hook you're saying or whatever, you know, like.
Exactly. It would be cool. Like, I wish that we could, because we had the same experience. Our first record, those were songs that we wrote from day one as a band until we did our first full length, which was like, you know, 2 or 3 years. And everything after that, like you're not playing it live before it's out, you know, because you can, like, I've even talked about it, like, say right now we're working on writing for a new record. It's like, what if we just played these songs when we're able to go back on tour, but then it's going to show up on YouTube of people's, like, you know, people are going to take a video of it or whatever. But in a perfect world, that would be cool, because, you know, when you after you've played songs live, like, you wish that you could record it again, because you're like, oh, I do this much better now. I figured out the drummer's like, I figured out a different thing to play.
Right.
You always wish that you could go back and do it. And, you know, that would be nice if you could write a record and then go on tour and try it out and see if people like it, or just at least fine tune it and then go and record it. But, you know, maybe we'll do that and just say, fuck it, who cares if you put a video on YouTube?
It'll just get buried under, you know, 20 other posts right after that. Anyway, dude, you've been a great guest. Thanks, man. I really appreciate you being on the show.
Course, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, best of luck with everything that you got going on coming up and any future things you have going on. I'd love to hear if you did the Doom Gatecreeper show. I think that'd be rad.
The Doom stream. You heard it here first.
Doom stream. Ladies and gentlemen, that right there is the awesomely named Chase Mason. Gatecreeper. No fucking regrets.
With Robb Flynn.